The state of the Republican Party, that's the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Who remembers the famous stories about President Reagan and House Speaker Tip O'Neill? I know I do. In the public eye, they would battle each other tooth and nail. In private, however, they would grab a drink, play cards, and negotiate a settlement, or come up with an answer to a serious problem facing our country. Now let's move ahead about 30 years. And how would President Reagan's actions be looked at by the more conservative base of our party? For the record, President Reagan was one of my heroes. But today, would President Reagan be called a RINO, Republican in name only? I'm not sure, but I can tell you that when members of the Republican Party and others looking from the outside in see the personal and political attacks between the factions of the party, they're left scratching their heads and questioning whether they want to be involved at all. Listen, I've been a Republican my whole adult life, a known fiscal conservative and national security hawk. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie is not a darling to our conservative base. Why? Because he hugged the president. Well, maybe that was a little bit much. I'll give him a pass on that. But he was not even invited to CPAC this year. He has a 70% approval rating in a very blue state, doing the things that matter most to the people in his state. How do the personal and at times paid political attacks of groups throughout the country to oust or work against good Republicans like Christie and others move the party forward? Are we not all concerned with the same core principles of lower taxes, smaller government, liberty, freedom, strong defense, fiscal and military strength, to name a few? Is there not room for good Republicans that don't all think, act, and vote the same way? I would argue that the GOP needs to be a larger tent party, more inclusive, to respect the beliefs of good Republicans of all types. When the presidency of President Obama is over, we'll have had 8 years of division. The us versus them, the haves versus the have-nots, rich versus poor, young versus old. I believe the people are fed up. They're tired of the divisiveness, tired of our elected officials putting their personal political interests ahead of our country's interests. People are looking for us to band together and come up with a plan to rescue our country and bring us all forward as Americans first. We can't do it if we stay divided. Listen, to quote President Reagan, I'd rather have a 60% friend than a 100% enemy. How about you? And that's the memo.